am joined today by Joe Smith Jr., professional boxer, in association with Joe DeGuardia's Star Boxing. Joe, thank you for joining me today.
And thanks for having me.
So, Joe, you're coming off your biggest victory in your career, as many would put it. You fought in Vegas, first time fighting in Vegas. Talk to me about that experience and about the fight.
You know, it was a great experience. I enjoyed fighting in the bubble. Everything went very smoothly. And well, I would have liked to have a few fans there. It would have been a little better, but I also had a lot of fans disappointed that they couldn't come to the fight because I was fighting in Vegas. Everyone's been waiting for that. But everything went well, and it was a great night.
Definitely. And you're on the biggest platform. It's during the pandemic. Talk to us about training leading up into this fight. It's essentially the biggest fight of your career, and we're going through a world pandemic, and that had to be a different type of training regimen.
Yeah, well, the hardest part about it was just finding the right sparring partners because, you don't know who to be around, and you got to be very careful because you don't want to get sick before, a couple of weeks before the fight. So, finding the right sparring partners was the hardest part. But for the most part, you're quarantining yourself during training anyway for a good at least 6 to 8 weeks.
Okay, so as far as training, you stayed in Long Island, and I want to say, is it Shipley, Long Island, the area you're actually from, directly in Long Island there?
Yeah, I'm from Mastic, Long Island.
Okay.
And it was, I had a great training camp. I was lucky enough to find good sparring partners, and it all worked out. And I got a little worried because at one point the fight was postponed for 2 weeks. So I was a little nervous. Well, for about a month it was. So I was a little nervous that I wasn't going to have the sparring partners that I needed, but it all worked out.
Glad to hear that, and you had an excellent performance. You fought Eleider Alvarez. I can never say his first name. It was a WBO title eliminator. What is the next step for Joe Smith Jr. in your career?
Well, I'm just hoping to get back in the ring shortly. I want to get in there soon. I'm waiting to hear news, but with this COVID stuff, it's hard for the promoters to make fights happen, I guess, at the moment.
Yeah, understood. And is there anybody out there that you would like to face, or anybody in mind? I know I'm not a big person of having guys call each other out, but is there someone on your list that you would like to face and get in there and challenge yourself?
I mean, yeah, with me, I want to face the best. I want to fight the champions, Turbiev, Bivol, Pascal. Those are the guys at the top of my list. But, I may have to fight somebody else before that to get the belt that I'm going after because I'm in line to fight for the WBO. And, I was supposed to be fighting for it shortly, but at the moment, I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's that kind of delay right now. Things are kind of unknown. Now, if people don't know out there, the light heavyweight division is stacked. A lot of great fighters, Joe Smith Jr. being one of them. There's a lot of challenges that lie ahead for you, and that's good for the future in your career. I'm excited for you, and I commend you for what you've done. Joe, you went on we're going to circle back to your upbringing, but let's focus right now kind of on your pro career. From 2010 to 2016, I saw you won 17 fights in a row. 2016. We got to put that in perspective. And you only have, you're sitting at 26-3 with 21 knockouts. Talk to me about that run you went on for those 5 years.
Well, it was a good one. I mean, my first step-up fight, I feel, was against, let's see, with Angel Fonfara, when I fought Angel Fonfara, that was a great night. And, I was like 21-1 underdog on that, on that fight. And I came in, stopped him in the first round. And, that from that point on, my career kind of jumped. That's what got me the opportunities that I've had.
Yeah, and you fought him in his backyard in Chicago. I believe that was...
It was a crazy night.
Yeah, I wish I could have gone to something like that. People have to understand, in Chicago, it's a very large Polish community.
The Polish fans there were insane. There were so many of them, but they were all great. They became fans of mine by the end of the
Yes.
night. So it was, you know.
I know what you're saying, man. I've always wanted to go to O2 over in Europe. The fans they're the type of fans that if you show them what you're made of and you get in there and you're beating their guy, they'll become a fan of you. So I know what you're saying.
Yeah, they show you respect. It was awesome.
Definitely. Hey, okay. So as far as is that experience, you fought Funfara. That was your first, essentially, that was a WBC International Light Heavyweight title. That was your first title shot at that point in 2016?
Yes, that was the first. Sorry, somebody keeps calling me.
That's fine.
Yeah, that was my first opportunity there. And, when they called me up and asked if we wanted to fight, Angel Funfara, big step up, great opportunity, and I took full advantage.
Definitely. That's a huge step up, and I congratulate you on that win. You fought in the guy's backyard. You're a major underdog. So, Joe, we're going to take a pause. We're going to circle back to kind of work and talk about your upbringing, where you're from.
Raised in Long Island, New York. Okay. And, started my career at boxing when I was 13, and, I'm pretty successful. I mean, with the boxing from starting in the boxing world, starting at 13 is a pretty late start.
Yeah, definitely. So talk to us about your first experience, introduction to boxing. How did that come about?
Well, my father, I moved in with him when I was 13, and, he was into boxing and stuff, and I was getting into a little trouble or whatever. So he brought me down to a boxing gym pretty much. He wanted to get me to shut my mouth and get me beat up. But oh, wow. I ended up doing good in the gym. And, the trainer there at the time was like, you got to stick with it and do something with the sport. So I just stayed with it, and here I am.
That's amazing. So you went from learning the sport, you're in your gym, and this was a local gym down the street around where you grew up?
Yeah, yep. Local gym. Started there for a little bit. I trained there for a few years, and then I met my trainer, that I'm with now, and he just took me to another level. He knew, he understood me and knew how to work with me, and he got me to where I'm at today.
Right. And what's your trainer's name there? We'll give him a shout out.
Jerry Capienko.
All right. So Jerry, we're gonna say hello. We appreciate you working with Joe Smith Jr. You guys have come a long way. So, Joe, you
work for those guys, Jerry and Phil, his brother. I wouldn't be here today, but those two guys, they did a lot for me.
That's truly. I'm happy for you and happy for them. And you guys have really you've made a career in the sport of boxing. Something many people they try to do and they're not very successful. It's not a game. So I commend you in the work of your trainers. Joe, as you learned the sport, you moved into the amateur circuit. You went from learning about it, like I said, to competing. Talk to us about your amateur background, especially in the Northeast, where we know, the New York Golden Gloves is something really to talk about.
Yeah, I won the New York Metros, I think 5 or 6 years in a row. And then I fought in the Golden Gloves 3 times. I lost my first year. I lost a close decision. The following year, I won. I fought Sean Monahan. He was a pretty decent, pro fighter. I don't know what he's doing right now. But I fought him. I won the novice Golden Gloves. Then I fought in the open class division the following year, but lost the decision to nationally ranked champion. And right after that, I decided I didn't want to wait around no more and just turn pro. I felt like I had more of a pro style than amateur background, style.
So as you won the New York Golden Gloves weeks after having your daughter, put that in perspective.
Yeah, man, I was, in the hospital weeks before, sitting there. So, trainers and whatnot were a little worried that, wasn't gonna make it to the fights, but made it there, and I took home the gold. So it was a great year.
Yeah, that's a 2-for-1. You have your daughter, you win the Golden Gloves, and then a year later you signed to turn pro. Is that what led? Was that some of your motivation?
Yeah, I just wanted to turn pro and start making money in the sport. I didn't want to sit around in the amateurs and waste too much time.
Yeah, definitely. So that was 2009. We're talking 11 years ago. You made your pro debut.
Yeah, it's been a while. I had some setbacks, and I'm just glad to be here today, and being in line for a world championship after all that.
Yeah, that's truly amazing. You've put your path. You've been on a path over the last 11 years. Joe, you also own your own business. Let's talk about that. I know we're going full circle today. You owned the owner of Team Smith Tree Service. Talk to us about your outside of the ring, Joe Smith Jr.
Yeah, so I always worked on and off with tree companies because my grandfather was a tree guy, my father was a tree guy. They always worked for big companies, and you know, then I got time. So to me, he's like, why don't we start our own business together? Open it up. And I was like, all right, let's do it. So me and my father, we went half. We opened up the business, and now, it worked out good because now I could work and train when I need to. When I got a fight coming up, my father's doing all the, he's selling the jobs and making sure everything's getting done while I'm doing my training.
It's truly amazing and a testament to your work ethic, having the balance. You're going to fight for a world title, and essentially you own your own business. People have to understand that if you really want to do something, you go out there and get it done. The message I would say coming away from that is time management. Yeah. You also have a family. So talk to us about Joe Smith Jr. outside of his tree service, outside of boxing. Talk to us about your family, Joe.
Well, I got a big family, a lot of brothers, sisters, I got a daughter, but, I see them all, when I can. Like right now, I'm not training full time, I'm just staying sharp just to stay, little sharp, and once I get a fight though, then it's all back to, just focusing on that. But in the meantime, I'm hanging out, enjoying myself. But once I get a date, for 6 to 8 weeks, I'm just in the gym by myself, and I just, put my 100% into that. Just stay focused on my fight.
Yeah, it's truly a testament, like I said, to your work ethic and what you're doing with your time. What would you share with other fighters right now, or people that are interested in the sport of boxing, up and coming? What is your message to them?
Just when it comes to a fight, man, just stay 100% focused on it. And if you really want to succeed in this sport, you need to be 100% focused on that task in front of you. And you can't let nothing else, get in the way.
Definitely, and I appreciate you sharing that. There's a lot of people out there that say, hey, I'm doing this or I'm doing that, or I can't do this or do that per se, and box. Well, you're talking to a guy that's fighting for a world title, owns his own business, has a family. I commend you for that, Joe. It's truly a testament. Like I said, I will repeat that. It's impressive, and I commend you for that.
I go through obstacles myself to be able to do this, but at times it was tough to really focus on the fight, and when at those times the fight doesn't turn out good, you got to be really dedicated and focused on that fight.
Definitely, it's and the level you're fighting at, you're gonna get in the ring with the guys Barrera, Bivol, Beterbiev, Alvarez, and you're at light heavyweight. I mean, did you transition over time? Were you fighting in the amateurs at a lighter weight, or you kind of went from the and jumped up?
I jumped up to light heavyweight, in my last couple of amateur fights, and then I just stayed there since. So
yeah, that's it.
But the level of competition that you're fighting at now, it's tough. You can't make any mistakes, and you have to be fully dedicated to it.
Definitely, it's not a game, and that these guys you're getting in the ring with, man, those are some monsters in there. So,
Yeah,
and you're one of them. So,
vision is
yeah,
crazy.
the division is stacked. So, Joe, talk about your signing with Joe DeGuardia's Star Boxing. That happened a few years into your career, obviously. Talk about your relationship with Joe DeGuardia, if you could, in Star Boxing.
My relationship with Joe is pretty good. The guy, he gets me the good fight. He gets me the right fights. He, for from the ranking that I had and everything that I had, for him to get me a fight with Andrew Fonfara, that was a pretty big deal right there. And by getting that fight, it set my path to today.
Definitely, and we all know about your victory over Bernard as well. You fought some top guys. Put that in perspective. I'm sure many people have asked about it, obviously. It's been a few years, but, I mean, you fought a legend in the sport. You fought a guy like Fonfara. You fought Sullivan Barrera. You fought some big names out there. You're only fighting bigger names moving forward. But let's focus on the Hopkins fight. Talk to us about that experience.
Oh, that was a great experience, because even going into that fight, everything was about Hopkins, it was all Hopkins, everything. But by the time it was over, it was all about me. So it was great.
Yeah, it's awesome.
That's the one fight like people will never forget. Everyone talks about that fight everywhere I go.
Yeah, definitely. And Joe, being growing up myself in the Northeast and watching your career and you grow and the person you are today, it's a true testament, like I said prior, that, we can get these big fights and fight these big names and make some money, but continue to be true to ourselves. And I could see that in just talking with you. So, Joe, outside of the ring, what are some of your passions and interests? Obviously, you have your tree service company. You have your family. What other interests? Who's Joe Smith outside the ring?
Lately, I bought a house, so I've been doing a lot of yard work, and, I'm just trying to make my home, something that I can enjoy whenever I have some downtime. And I said one of my biggest passions is just going to the beach and hanging out on the water. I love jet skiing and being on the boats, So any chance I could get, I'm out there on the beach or the water on my jet ski, something.
Nice. So it's a good way to disconnect, that's for sure.
Yeah, you go out on the water on the ski by yourself, man, there's nothing better. It's just relaxing. There's nothing else on your mind but just looking at the water.
Sounds like a good time. There's plenty of that down here in Florida. So you let me know whenever you want to come down to Florida or Puerto Rico at Team La Perla Boxing and MMA. You're more than welcome to, man. The door is always open for you.
Well, maybe next time we could take the skis out and go do the interviews on the water or something.
We'll get the GoPro. We'll get you out there. That would be fun, man. That'd be something different for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
I've actually only been on this jet ski a few times since moving down to Florida here from New York, so I don't miss those cold winters. I know you guys are on the verge. So.
Yeah, the winters kind of kill me. They're too long. I mean, I like the seasons, but winter's too long, man.
Definitely. And Joe, as we wrap up today, who are some fighters? I know we'll circle back. Who are some fighters you looked up to growing up, and who would you say now, Joe, your style, would be more similar to, or is Joe Smith Jr. have his own style, so to say?
I mean, I believe I got my own style. I'm a mixture of everything. I could box. I usually don't use it, too much because I like to brawl. I like to fight. So, I mean, I got a good mixture, though. I'm a big puncher, but I can box as well. But, fighters I looked up to is like, Roy Jones, Mike Tyson, Holyfield. Those guys, they were special.
Most definitely. And you're creating your path and leading yourself into the status of you're going to leave your mark on this sport. And I congratulate you for that. And I look forward to seeing Joe Smith Jr. continue his career, as do many others. What would you say is your goal moving forward at this point?
I want to stay more active, man. I want to fight 3 times a year, but you know, it's tough right now with this, but you know, I just want to stay more active, and I just want to fight the best and put on a great show for everybody.
And we also will share to those fighters out there, stay active. As you can see, we have a guy, Joe Smith Jr. competing for a world title coming up, wants to stay active, stay hungry, and continue to be true to himself and humble. Joe, what is your message today to those people out there? We're on some tough times. What would you like to share with the fans and also those people that are going through it right now?
And just focus on your goals and stay positive. And
Short.
Good things will come.
Definitely. Short and direct. Joe Smith Jr., I truly appreciate your time, my friend. Like I said, there's always an open invitation. Florida with the jet skis, Puerto Rico. We got our boxing gym, Team La Perla, in San Juan, Puerto Rico. You're always welcome, my friend.
All right, man. I might have to take you up on that.
Most definitely, most definitely. And I'll be up in New York visiting my mother and my family. So I'll have to catch one of your fights when we're out of this pandemic. Hopefully, you know, you'll be fighting at the Barclays again, possibly at the Garden. But for now, it seems like Vegas is where it's at for Joe Smith Jr.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
All right, well, see you guys back in the ring soon.
Definitely. We look forward to it, man. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you.
All right, Joe.